go against the sacred thing that God puts into the very heart and the soil of this nation. This was sacred to God. Now is the time to act. This is exactly why I need some action from my people.
And welcome back to the Reawaken America Tour. Thanks again for joining us on Church and State. I don't know, Gabe, I don't know if I've ever been this excited about an interview right now, because what's in front of you? What are you holding right there?
I actually want to introduce these guys first.
Go ahead.
So
I'm jumping right to
that's
it.
Ed.
Yes.
Ed, yes.
So we were at the Reawaken America Tour. We're in the merch area, and this really boisterous guy just sticks out his hands and says, "Hi, I'm Michael." And we hit it off, and we're talking about archaeology. So I'm just going to define him as Indiana Jones. Okay? Michael, what's your last name?
Hughes.
Hughes.
Kind of like Uncle Howie.
Yes.
Or Howard.
So,
there you go. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
And we just hit it off. We're talking about archaeology. We're talking about Ron Wyatt, one of my heroes who's gone on to be with the Lord. And then I look over to my right, and I see this guy, and I say, "Hi, I'm Gabe." And he goes, "Hi, I'm Trey Smith." And I about freak out because I love those of you who just type in God in A on YouTube. It will go nutshell. And because he does these videos that are short, sometimes long, but they are so in depth. And the one that is my favorite has 8.1 million views. It's titled Nephilim, the True Story of Satan, Fallen Angels, Giants, and Aliens, Hybrids. Dude, this is everything Caleb and I talk about all the time.
Yes.
Genesis 6 was never taught to me in Sunday school, and it destroyed me when I found out that my Sunday school teacher never taught me about this. It's right there, smack dab in the Bible. The seed war between God and between mankind and between the devil, it made the gospel come alive for you and I. So I told these guys, after I met them yesterday, I texted them today, because they're not even here at the Reawaken America Tour as speakers. I can't believe it. They should be main speakers with an hour-long session.
Oh, come on.
But I said, hey, you got to do an interview while you're here. And they brought this. Ed, this is why don't you tell what this is, Trey?
Well, this one, okay, so this was originally found out back the house of Hillary Clinton. So this one here comes from Peru. And I'll kind of hold it up, and if you guys want to hold it, so this one would be called this one would be called a naturally formed skull. And
so this wasn't used with pressure, where they put the pressures like boards on the baby's heads. This naturally cranially.
Yes,
DNA.
Yeah, you'd be able, and there's a lot of debate about why the heads would be like this. Is it just people that had a deformity? Is it something? So, but these appear to be. I mean, people in the circles that I'm in that really look at these heavily believe that the ones that look like this are royal families, and there's also quite a lot of them. So this effect with the back of the head being that large there's quite a lot of them. They appear to have been regarded as royalty, and it's commonly thought that the ones with the squished head, which you can tell the difference, and
it's really simple.
Yeah, the squished one will come up. Okay, and so also a human head has two plates. I'll move this cord a little.
You have that Mercedes symbol on the back. Let me tilt it this way.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That tri, right? There should be a slice here that separates these plates into three.
Right.
It's not there.
Yeah, and you can look at it closer if you want. You got it right here.
And the eyes are 28% larger than a human's.
Wow.
And the brain is 25% larger than a human's. So no matter how you squish your head, your brain's not going to be bigger.
So people were compressing their heads on their babies to mimic royalty, almost like how girls try to have plumper lips like the Kardashians.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're just mimicking.
But I'm kind of going down the rabbit hole. This is not just Marfan's syndrome or a genetic thing by royalty. You think this is even more sinister, going back further and further. What do you think that ties to?
Well, so we've postulated that we've postulated that you have some very strange things going on in the past. So the term Nephilim. Now these are going to be so these aren't as old as they're not from before the flood. Those temples out there, it's debatable how old they are, but I mean, this could be in the range of 1,500 years ago. Could be, so it's not even all that long ago, right. And there's a lot of them, and why they came out looking like this. I lay it in your hands why it looks like it's a weird looking dude. You would look at that guy and you would say there's something odd about this fella, and it does have a very alien look to it. So and you have different size ones. There's some of them that actually have a clump that's larger than this one, but it's clearly something, and you can see how the face sort of slopes down.
Right.
It's
the
just a very
even back further. It's just overall.
It would be and so you have these concepts. Even in Saturday Night Live used to do a skit.
Right, the cone heads.
Yeah, the cone heads. And you've just got an awful lot of these. Now the original claims were back at the time that I put that video together, there were a lot of the atheists would fight hard against it and state, well, this, and even some of the Christians, that it was all head binding.
Right.
Well, not very many people argue that anymore, because you can see the differences on it. So what's going on is debatable with it, but it's these are not. So when people see the temples out there in Peru and South America, a lot of these are ritual sacrifice. I mean, they're very beautiful to look at. But like in today's age, you might go to the center of town. So, for example, I come from Denver, and in the one of the most beautiful buildings in downtown is the large giant Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Well, in their day, right, and it has kind of a friendly name to it.
Yeah,
and it's very well funded,
Yes.
And but in their day, these were temples, and some of the temples actually have carved. They drew a lot of serpents, particularly in those South American temples. And they even would draw serpents for the blood of the sacrifices to go down. I don't know how far I want to go with that, since you've got my kids listening. But
no. Go as far as you want.
I want to add something to that too on archaeology. This is cool stuff, right?
Yeah. Here, do you want to hold it?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to show it to him?
Yeah. Look at Ed. Okay, now. One thing that you got to understand that's pretty crazy. There's something that correlates with these in archaeology. So, you know what it is you find? Now this is actually an infant.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh. The adults, we're talking about this large. It's a big head.
Yeah.
Right. And so you imagine the eye size.
Right.
How did the Egyptians draw their eyes? They drew them really big because they're. Somebody follows a rock star, he dresses like a rock star.
Right.
Okay? All right, so, but monolithic stone structures are found everywhere, without exception, of where those guys are buried.
This is fascinating. This is an infant skull. Age range, just estimating.
It'd be about 4 years old.
4-year-old child. Okay. And that is almost as big as my head right now. That's massive if you consider what that would grow into as an adult. So clearly these were giants, as the Bible tells us.
And you were just talking a second, Michael, about how we see the Valley of the Kings. We see in Egypt these monolithic structures. We also see I love Sacsayhuaman, where the bricks are impossibly, they're not even bricks, or stones that have almost been laser cut, where you can't even get a piece of paper between them. But these guys in Peru, there's no evidence of monolithic building structures. Why is that? Why is there no pyramids?
Actually, there is.
Or there is?
There's some huge ones there, and it's not just that. These are in China. Did you know that?
Yeah. Keep going.
Every one of these spots that these guys show up in, and another weird thing, you'll find out that you draw a line, and they all connect in a straight line across the globe. That's kind of strange. We're doing that series, Question Coincidence.
Right.
Right? Does it look like a coincidence? Question it.
Right.
Yeah. And why are these there? It's one thing. And why are they all lined up? Are they coordinating?
Right.
How do they communicate enough to know to line up literally on a particular line on the globe? So there's so much about these. Remember, Brian, did the DNA tests of these. Remember Brian Forster?
Yes.
Yeah. Super cool guy. And he's collected a lot of stuff like this. Well, anyway, what's wrong with just checking that out?
Nothing. But it changes the
Why are
narrative.
they trying to suppress it? That's the question.
It changes
right?
the narrative.
And what happened to these entities, these beings, right? Do they still exist? And I mean, that's going down a rabbit hole. I mean, there's theories on Hollow Earth. I mean, there's all sorts of things about where these individuals ended up. But in your opinion, for both of you gentlemen, do these beings still walk among us?
Okay, that's a really good question because I've got a guy that, so I own Sunbeam, right? And that's a British car company brand, that sort of thing. Okay, so about, I got to say, 15, 18 years ago, I was with Carroll Shelby. You probably heard of him.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Yeah. And at that time, I
had a pretty cool car.
I had a cool car. At that time, I owned the Auburn Car Company brand. And so Auburn Cord Duesenberg, just so you know. I'll show you one of the vehicles we manufactured. And, okay, so this one guy called... he was called Sarge. That's right. He was called Sarge. And he managed getting jackets and all this paraphernalia into all the big MGM brands and all that. Okay, so it's in Vegas. And everybody, these multi-billionaire guys that ran these hotels, had all this respect for him. So he and I are having lunch. And super cool guy. He's probably, I think he was about 75 or something when we were talking. And he said, so I got to tell you something. I go, is it about the chili? You know? And he said, no, they're there. I go, what? He says, first, I used to be on the Air Force One helicopter. Okay? When Kennedy would get on, he'd say, hey, Sarge, how are you? That's cool. And he said, one day I was getting on the helicopter, wild, right? And Kennedy had this newspaper rolled up, and he tossed it to me. He says, Sarge, what do you think of that? So he said, and this is a guy in the 70s, dead serious guy, tons of credibility, super cool guy. All right. He says, I opened the paper, and it was a UFO sighting.
Right.
And Kennedy said, so what do you think? Is it real? And he said, you know, people see stuff, you know, they get kind of
weather balloons.
Yeah. And he said, Kennedy looked me straight in the eyes and said, oh, yeah, you sure?
Wow.
You don't think they're real? And he got dead nuts serious. And he says, creeps me out. I think of it now. Then he said, guess what they have living out there? And he said, okay, you take such and such highway that we're on, blah, 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 and you go this way, you make a left. Remember that one thing? And he's saying specifically where it is. And he said, I saw these. I don't have clearance. He saw them. Now, I thought, I got to say, I thought he was kind of whacked. I'm going to tell you that. He seemed credible, but so I'm kind of like talking to him like we would a Chevy transmission or something. I said, oh, yeah, really?
Okay.
So what was it like? What did it look like? You know, just like, and he just went on, you know, what the color looked like. You see him at a distance, and we give them stuff that they want, and we work together, and they show us how to make weaponry. That was his thing, and he believed that. Yeah. So when I told my wife about it, she says, "What's this?" And then, a while after I told her, I heard on the news a military guy is admitting that they saw some giant or some alien, you know, such and such. And I thought, man, is he on there? And as I'm going up to see the TV to hear the story, he's saying exactly what he told me. And guess what? It was a different military guy.
Wow.
Now, how did that work? So either there's a coincidence, they both saw something identical,
right,
or they actually saw something.
Well, and even, you know, to add to that story, the credibility of that story, you know, Admiral Byrd, who was a very respected military leader until he threw himself off of a building, I guess, right?
But that was an accident.
Yeah, that was
an
accident.
How he died?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was the story.
That guy is a famous
No,
guy.
he's serious?
Yes.
Because
They
I had not heard that.
Yeah,
before.
he went into
this
a
is the man that
facility
went to
and then
Antarctica.
Yeah, he went to Antarctica, then he went to the Arctic, and he said he flew into Hollow Earth, and then later on he was committed at a mental hospital, and then supposedly threw himself out of like a third-story window.
You're kidding. I did not know that part of this. So this is a guy that was funded to the hilt by the U.S. military.
He's on
They
kind
trust
of
him to run all of their ships and to make
Yes.
these discoveries, and then later he makes his way out of a building, and whatever he was stating is just a crazy guy.
Of course.
Mike
and we
and I-
might be able to blame that on Hillary
he
Clinton. I don't know.
Well, that could be.
That could be.
Well,
Yeah,
it's the same. Is it? It's the same crowd behind it, right? I mean, you can see the. But go ahead. No, I did not. I have heard Admiral Byrd things a lot, and I had not heard that he was. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's horrible, but this is. Hey, that guy got a cure.
Where were you going, Caleb? Because I have a question for Trey.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So here's the thing.
That's cool.
You know, we try to, when we make these statements, we're talking about Nephilim, talking about aliens, like the inner security blanket of every Christian is like running to the Bible right now in this moment. They're like all freaking out,
Yeah.
which that's where I was when I originally heard, who owns Koinonia House?
Chuck Missler.
Chuck Missler revealed, and the scales come off my eyes, the Nephilim exists. It's right there in the Bible. When people are hearing this stuff right now, Trey, take us back to the Bible. How do we not be afraid of this, and why is this relevant to Christianity?
And let me just add on that as well, and also how viewing the Bible through the Genesis 6:4 lens opens so many more doors and greater understanding.
Yeah, and I want to frame this before he says it because he has some crazy, awesome information about this. And I don't want you guys to take this bad. Okay? I don't care. I don't care what the truth is. I just want to know what the truth is.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Right.
Well, the time frame. Well, so here at the conference that we're at right now, the time frame that we're in, I believe that there's a lot of reason to have hope in terms of the. I believe that large portions of the stuff that people define as ghosts and dead family members and spirit guides and the sort and that are the same people talking there are the same ones that talk to you through a Ouija board, and it really is that close, and it kind of wants to talk. So over the years, it kind of custom tailors itself to. Otherwise, you might not notice it.
I'm going to keep the mic right up on your face.
Oh, sorry about
there
that.
you go. Yep.
Because I have yet to meet anybody that has searched for the occult that has not gotten a occult story where it talked back. And generally it talks back with things that are relevant to right? It's exciting to them. So it's going to tell you about the relationships, or it's going to tell you about how you're going to, or if you're just out looking for something. I have yet to meet somebody out chasing ghosts and ghost hunting that didn't find them.
Right.
Or catch something on film that moved. Did you watch it? It looked, it moved. There it went. And I in some sense, I think these things are wanting to, they like the attention of it. But there's, but it's not just the demons. The Lord is so much more real than these things, and they, if one of the things that I state repeatedly on the videos that actually comes from Chuck Missler is if you have something that just appears and disappears in the air, it really begs the question: where is it when you don't see it?
Right.
And if you have this many things that are coming, you would think that you would sense the traffic if it were coming from another solar system or another universe or another, and it's so omnipresent. It's happening all the time that yet it doesn't present itself to you. And
well, that's cool. Compare that to.
I don't think the
Awesome.
people that are running a lot of the systems. So at this conference that we're at now, one of the spiritual source behind a lot of what we're talking about is what these people believe that are at the top of the pyramid, if you will.
Right.
These are all the pyramids. Is the spiritual source behind that? What are they worshiping? The term would be they're Luciferian or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, they came to that conclusion probably for the same, the people that are doing this. They're accused of doing all sorts of things with kids, all sorts of blood sacrifice, all sorts of this and that, which is kind of a behind the scenes of what you're seeing at those giant temples.
Right.
And when you look at the writings of, who was it, Albert Pike, who said, I may have Albert Pike wrong, but I don't think I am wrong. Yeah. Where he said, after we do this and this and this, we're going to bring out the true religion from the light of Lucifer. And Blavatsky certainly wrote, I mean, she was redundant about these kind of things. This is what they all believe behind the scenes. And they believe, do as thou wilt. Like Aleister Crowley would quote. And so, and by the way, these entities that they're describing, they sound a lot like, so I, guys, I really don't know what this is, other than that you find it around temples, and these are blood sacrifice temples. The thing looks alien-like, and it looks like a physical, somehow a physical version. So in Genesis 6, you have this breeding between the angels and the humans to birth something not human. And if you've got people, so at God in a Nutshell, we get tons of emails from women that will believe that there's spirits that come into them, that they do all sorts of
the incubus and the succubus. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this is really, and some of them are really twisted things.
Yeah.
And they'll go into these wild worlds of it. And if you've got in your world behind the scenes eyes wide shut parties that are running your financial systems, just like they were running the financial systems of the ancient world, then that's going to be the same practices. And by the way, they're not going to think anything. I mean, they're offended at you that you would even ask. I mean, how dare you even question it? This is the true system, man.
It is. Yeah.
And
they've got an elitist mentality. Yeah,
so
that's not for us to know.
Can I give one thing?
Ahead,
so one thing that this all does too as well is it actually helps me understand Abba better, because when the Lord has revealed to me how much of a loving father he is, and I call him Papa a lot, but how can a Papa kill innocent women, children, donkeys?
I know
Here's
where you're going.
why. Because in Jericho, in Ai, they believe that there was and I love this whole concept, is that there's proto-Noahic or pre-flood, pre-diluvian technology in Jericho. In Jericho, there was abominations happening. There may have been little ones running around with heads shaped like this. I don't know for sure. Okay, all I know is God wiped the whole entire city out, animals, everything. We see the harshness of God the Father, and we think he is just mean. When I see Genesis 6 under the lens that God is basically, he's executing his justness because the seed war has been on full tilt. He wiped out with the flood a lot of these guys because there's a seed war.
And it was blameless in their generations. That's how Noah was described. Noah and his family, they were blameless in their generations. That's a clue there that they had
genetics.
not. Yeah, exactly. It was genetics. I even believe that Sodom and Gomorrah, for example, when they're lusting after those angelic men, right? I think it was because they wanted this. They wanted Genesis 6:4. They wanted to breed. That's what the lust was. It wasn't necessarily that it was homosexuality. All right, if it was just homosexuality, God would have destroyed, San Francisco, for example, a long time ago, right? But it was this, in my opinion.
So these multiple incursions have happened through time. You have had the luxury of going all over the world, which is my dream, and seeing some of these places. I want to go to Sacsayhuaman so bad. I want to go to these places.
The stuff you're talking about makes so much sense. So let's say you're a group that's controlling this, and you control this belief system. And in your religion, if I tell you I'm going to slap you before I do it, then it's your fault if you let me do it.
Yes.
Wow.
That's exactly what they do. Yes.
That's legal now. If I tell you I'm going to kill you first, and then you say, okay, all right, now watch this. What if they have their own propaganda arm? Let me just show another coincidence. These are just coincidences. Don't know really what it means. But okay, let's look at the here's a good thing. Paramount Pictures logo, right?
Yes.
What do you have? You have a mountain with these stars that are actually in the sky.
Yes.
And they're there, and then they kind of fly around and go behind the... Okay, so let's talk what that pictograph means. Remember, our father's original language were pictures, pictographs.
Wow.
And like all the logos in the world are changing to pictographs. So when you see that, this concept hits you. You know, the Starbucks logo doesn't say Starbucks anymore.
Yeah, it's just an image.
Yeah, so if you looked at that image, you see this girl fish thing, and you only see these two flippers here. Well, if you pan out, it's her legs. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, So let's look at the Paramount Picture. That's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
The Paramount Picture logo. Okay. It's 22 stars.
Right, 11.
What if that's Mount Hermon?
Right.
And the 22 fallen angels,
Yep.
captains, are flying and land on the mountain.
Dude, I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay? But let's go farther. Our Father, through his Son, Yeshua, Jesus, right, had told his disciples some pretty cool stuff. And one of the things that was talked about is where is the temple of Satan? Now, the word Satan in that example was translated from a word that means adversary. So where's the temple of the adversary? And the framework of this, in my opinion, is talking about a time in the end of days. That's now. I got to do a little background. Circle of stars. Let me show you another way to make a circled star. Okay? You make a circle, and you draw a pentagon. Pentagraph in the center, right? That's a circled star. The center is called the pit. Another way to do it, in a hidden way, is just a bunch of stars in a circle.
Wow.
So what are they talking about in the logo? And some of the stars you can't see because the mountain's in the way.
Right.
Right? So there's more. All right? So you could say that their worship center, the pit, is circled by these stars. That's how they create this thing. And its image is shown in the Paramount logo. Right. 22 stars. If you look in the other books, like book of Jasher and the book of Enoch and all
I
this,
was about to bring up the book of Enoch. Yes.
well, guess what? He names the 22
Yes, he does.
fallen.
Yep.
Well,
Right?
you have 200 fallen angels, and then 20 leaders, and then then you have Azazel and Simyaza. So,
Yep.
I mean, 20. Yeah.
And there was Gus,
that's right.
too. Wasn't there a Gus? Maybe a Gus? No.
There was Gus and
It's always a
Fred.
Gus somewhere.
Gus and Fred.
I think
Gus
so.
and Fred.
All right, now watch this. It's so cool. So it says, and I'm going to do this from memory because I'm going to be all messed up. All right, so it said, so where is the seat of Satan, the seat or the temple of the adversary? And it says, this is where it is. And it says, where a particular guy was martyred, okay? So you look up the history of that guy they said was martyred, which is where the seat of the adversary is.
Right.
Apollyon was the angel who was given the key to the bottomless pit.
Yes.
By who? Us. Wait.
We had given it up.
Wait,
Mankind.
we gave Apollyon the key to the bottomless pit? Wait, a pit? Isn't that a circle with stars? Wait,
Right.
sorry. Okay. Well, guess what? You look up geographically where the temple of Apollyon is, and there's still a temple there. Did you know that?
Yeah.
You know where it is?
Well, I believe that it was moved to Germany,
Ah.
but
this is where it is.
the original one was where?
Are you going to say CERN?
It's in the center of a circle that they're shooting stars in
Come on.
CERN in a circle.
There we go.
And the center of that circle, the pit, is where the temple of Apollyon is.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's where the World Health Organization is, the
Yep.
World Bank, the World. Isn't that the
That's-
seat of the adversary?
And these videos that they've been releasing with CERN are
Yeah.
incredibly dark, where they're dancing around.
Yeah, they're doing
Have
this
you seen these?
satanic sort of ritual.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but isn't that appropriate for the equipment? And then you look at their logo, it's 666.
Right.
Wow.
And on the campus, they have a full-size Shiva. It's
That's the
just-
goddess of war.
Yeah.
There's a male version of that, and he's Apollyon.
Right.
Right, so there's a little bit of trickery to kind of.
Okay, I got a
yeah.
question for you. We're at 27:45, which is a full show.
just keep
Can we do
going.
a second part? I'm going to take a break here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to take a break here. So I'm going to take a pause. Don't stop the recording. So we're going to just be silent for like 30 seconds. And Joe, this is where you make the cut for radio.
We don't need 30 seconds.
Okay, there you go.